Hi everyone, welcome to our learning video for quality texts in week 2. This is our learning sequence, so every day this week we are going to be looking at this book called Rodney Loses It. On Monday you're going to be asked to identify the different parts of the cover and to predict what this book might be about. On Tuesday you're going to answer the question, who are the characters in the story? On Wednesday, you're going to look at the setting of the story. On Thursday, we're going to talk about the problem in the story and how does the problem get solved. And on Friday, we're going to look at your favourite part of the story. When we are looking at our quality texts, we're going to be using a technique called draw, talk, share and write. So every day you will be asked to draw a picture of something that is happening in the story and share it with your parent. Next, you will add some words to your drawing. For all the mums and dads, here is some information on why draw, talk, share, write is a useful strategy for children. You might like to pause the video here and read the box down below to see why we use this task. Mums and dads, here are some useful questions that you can ask your child as they draw and as they write. So firstly, ask your child if they can draw something from the story. That's going to change every day. So just keep an eye on the video and it will tell you what your child will be drawing each day. Ask your child to respond to questions such as, can you tell me about your drawing? Tell me what is happening here. Why did you draw that? Why did you use those colours? Can you tell someone else about your drawing? Can you add words to your drawing? Can you read the words you have added? Today is Monday, boys and girls, and it's the first day that we're going to look at our story called Rodney Loses It. Today we are learning about the information found on the cover of a fiction book. This week's book is called Rodney Loses It. Look at the cover and think about what this book might be about. This is called Making a Prediction. So as you look at the cover, have a look at the picture on the cover. See if you can tell someone in your family what you think this book might be about. If you can't do that right now, just have a think and keep it in your brain to share later. You can pause the video here if you'd like to talk about it with your parent. Now we are looking at the author and the title. Can you point to the title of the book? That's right, the title is written in big words at the top and it says Rodney Loses It. Look at the name of the author. The arrow is pointing to the author and there are two names there, Michael Gerard Bauer and Chrissy Krebs. Sometimes when we have two names, it means that the first person is the author. That person wrote the story. The second person might be the illustrator. That means Chrissy Krebs may have drawn the pictures that we find inside the book. She is called the illustrator. What else do you notice about the cover? We can see a picture there. Perhaps that's Rodney. Rodney's name is in the title, so that rabbit might be Rodney the rabbit. You might be able to tell from the picture that Rodney is feeling a bit angry. What else can you notice? Do you notice that the title words are very big and that the book is a nice bright colour? Maybe the author and the illustrator made the book look like that so it looks like an interesting book for you to read. Can you make any connections to this book? Sometimes when we look at a book for the first time, it might remind us of another book that we've read. Maybe you've read a book about rabbits before. Maybe you've read a book with a character called Rodney. Maybe you know someone called Rodney. When you look at the picture of Rodney and he looks so angry, maybe it reminds you of a time that you were angry. Maybe you could look at the author's name and you might remember that you've read another book by the same author. Can you think of any other connections you might make to this book? We can see by looking at the cover that the character in the story looks very angry. Have a look at the picture. You can see his eyes look angry and his mouth is open as if he's about to scream or shout at somebody. One of his ears even looks a little bit droopy and his little paws are all clenched up tight, which sometimes happens to our hands when we're feeling really angry. I wonder if you've ever felt this angry before. Draw a picture of a time when you felt angry. Talk about your drawing with a parent and add some words to your drawing. When you finish today's task, view the book on Storybox Library. To access Storybox Library, you will need the username, which is Sirius, Sirius, and the password is the same, Sirius. Go to the playlists for Early Stage 1 and you will see the title of this story. I hope you enjoy today's story, boys and girls, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more learning. Hi, boys and girls. It's Tuesday now, and today our learning intention is we are learning about characters. So today we are looking at characters. Characters are the people, animals, or creatures in fiction stories. A fiction story is a made-up story. It is not true. Now, I'm sure that you've already viewed the story Rodney Loses It. Maybe you want to even watch that story again today. When you were looking at that story, you might have noticed some things in the story that couldn't really be true. And that's what makes a fiction story, things that are not true. Let's look at some pictures here. And I want you to think about what parts of this story can you see that are not true, something that wouldn't really happen. You might notice some things in the story that could be true. The first picture at the top has Rodney standing on a chair and doing some drawing. Now, the things in that room, it looks like it's somebody's house, probably Rodney's house. Now, a house could be true. You all live in a house, so houses are real. But sometimes we see a house in a fiction story. So even though a house is real, the things that are happening in the house might not be real. Have a think about Rodney drawing a picture. Have you ever seen a rabbit drawing a picture? I don't think I have. That's what makes this a fiction story. In a fiction story, rabbits can even draw pictures. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? In the picture below, it's got some other things that Rodney is doing. It looks like he's having some breakfast. I'm sure rabbits do eat breakfast, but I'm not sure that they eat it at a table with a bowl and a spoon. Maybe some rabbits have a bath if they're somebody's pet, but I'm not sure they have a bubble bath with a rubber ducky. And rabbits certainly do go to sleep, but I'm not sure that they sleep in a person type of bed. And I don't think they wear pajamas either, boys and girls. In the other picture, Rodney certainly looks very angry and he's stomping his feet and his face looks very cross. Maybe sometimes rabbits do feel angry, but I'm not sure that they stomp their feet about it. And I don't think they stand on tables to do it either. So you can see all of those things make this book a fiction story. I wonder if you've spotted any other parts of the story that you know are made up. The author has used their imagination to make up the things in the story. Today's task is to draw a picture of Rodney. Rodney was the only character in today's story. Sometimes when we read other books, there are many characters in the book. Sometimes there's a main character, but in this case, Rodney was the only character that we saw. So draw a picture of Rodney and share it with a family member. Tell them something interesting about Rodney. You might have noticed some funny or interesting things about the character when you were viewing the story. Add some words to your drawing and share that with a family member. Don't forget to post on Dojo so Mrs. Seymour can see as well. I'll see you tomorrow for some more learning. Hi boys and girls. Today is Wednesday and we are learning about the settings in fiction stories. Fiction books can be set in many different places. The story might happen on the moon, in the jungle, in a school, or in a city. Maybe you can think of some other stories that we've read this year and think about where they were set. When we think about the story Rodney Loses It, what is the setting in this story? Where does this story happen? Let's look at the pictures here. We've got a picture here of Rodney. I think he's looking for Penny the pen. He's knocking some things over. He's got a table and a chair and a pot plant and a bookshelf. I think those things tell us that this is taking place in Rodney's house because it looks like the type of furniture you would see in a house. In the middle, we can see a little bit more of that room with Rodney's desk. He stuck lots of pictures on the wall. He's got a picture frame up on the wall with a picture of him, I think, wearing a red bow tie. And he's got some chairs and a fireplace. So again, this tells us that the setting is in Rodney's home. And there's another picture of Rodney's very messy desk with all of his drawings on it. Today's task is to draw a picture of the setting in this story. You might choose one of the pages to have a look at, looking at the furniture and the other parts of Rodney's house, and draw a picture of that. Share your drawing with a family member and tell them about some of the interesting or funny things that you saw in Rodney's house. Don't forget to add some words to your drawing and tell your parent all about the words that you added. I can't wait to see some of your drawings and your writings, so remember to post them on Dojo. And you might like to have another look at the story on Storybox today so that you can remember some of those pictures. See you tomorrow. Hi boys and girls, welcome to Thursday's lesson. Today we are learning about the problems in fiction stories. Most fiction books have problems, and the problems usually get solved. So what that means is when we're reading the story, something bad or something funny sometimes happens to the characters, and as the story goes on, that problem gets solved. Today I'd like you to think about what is the problem that we saw in Rodney Loses It? What problem did Rodney have? So let's have a look. What is the problem in this story? I've got a picture there that might remind you of what that problem was. In this picture, it looks like Rodney is looking for something. He's looking in his teapot. He's looking in his pot plant. He's even looking in his rubbish bin. Can you remember what that problem was? That's right, he was missing his Penny the pen. I don't think he's going to find Penny the pen in the teapot or the pot plant. Maybe the bin is a good idea because sometimes we accidentally throw things out, but it looks like Rodney's put himself in the bin and all we can see is his bottom and his fluffy tail. In the story, how did Rodney's problem get solved? Have a think about that. Can you remember? Did he find his pen? And where did he find it? Something I noticed in the story at the very end when the problem was solved, Rodney had a new problem. Can you tell someone in your house about the new problem Rodney had? That's right, he was missing his glasses this time, wasn't he, silly Rodney? Could you spot where his glasses were, though? It was a bit tricky, wasn't it? Have you ever had a problem like Rodney's problem? How did your problem get solved? Reading Rodney's problem made me have a connection with that story because sometimes everybody loses something. Rodney lost his pen, but there have been times where Mrs. Seymour has lost her keys, maybe her phone. One time I even lost my wallet with all my money in it. Most of the time we get our things back if we lose them. And when we lose something at school, we look in the lost property. And it's always important to have our name on things so that we can get them back. It can be very upsetting to lose something though, isn't it? Rodney was happy in the end though because his problem got solved. So think about a problem that you had like Rodney's and how it got solved. Draw about your problem and talk about your problem, adding some words to your picture. Maybe you can tell your parents all about a time when you lost something. Maybe you felt a bit sad about that. But when the problem gets solved, you felt happy again, just like Rodney did. Hi everyone, it's Friday, our very last day of learning for the week. Today we are learning about responding to fiction stories. So today we're going to respond to the book. This means we will say what we like about the book and we will give reasons. It's very important when we tell someone that we like a book that we give a reason why we like that book. So let's have a look at some pictures here, and that might help you to remember why you liked this book. So what do you like about this book? Sometimes people like books because they are funny. When we look at that first picture, that made Mrs. Seymour laugh because I thought it was pretty funny to see a rabbit in pyjamas, but I especially thought it was funny when Rodney was snoring and drawing, and he even drew on his bed. I wonder what his mum would say about that. Sometimes we like stories even though they make us feel a bit sad. And look, Rodney looks really sad there when he lost Penny. Maybe when you read the book you remembered a time when you lost something and it made you sad. And maybe that's what made you enjoy the book. Sometimes we like books because they have interesting pictures in them. And we enjoy looking at those pictures and trying to work out what is happening. Look at that picture of Rodney swinging on the chandelier. He's looking for his pen. I don't know if he's going to find his pen up on the ceiling, but it is a funny picture and an interesting picture, isn't it? So maybe that is something that you liked about the story. Something else we might like about stories is they might remind us of something that has happened to us, or they might remind us of another story or a movie that we've seen, or they might remind us of something that we know about. So in this story, Rodney might have reminded us of a time when we lost something. Or maybe it reminded you of another book that you'd read about rabbits or other animals that could talk. There's lots of reasons why we might like a book. Sometimes I think we mostly like books when they are funny and they make us laugh. Today's task is to draw a picture of your favourite part in the story. Share it with a family member and tell them why you liked that part. You might even ask your family member what part of the story they liked. Remember to add some words to your drawing and post your work up on Dojo so that Mrs. Seymour can see your fabulous writing and drawing. I hope you enjoyed that story, boys and girls. I look forward to sharing another story with you next week. Bye.